We throw the word strategy around all the time, right? In meetings, in presentations. It's everywhere. But what if I told you that most of what we call strategy isn't actually strategy at all?
Yeah, I'm serious. The vast majority of those so-called strategies floating around, they're not the real deal. They're just, well, they're faking it.
So what are they then, honestly? They're just a to-do list with better fonts. You know the type. Slick graphics, a fancy slide deck, but when you boil it all down, it's just a list of things we're going to do. And that right there is the problem. It's missing the one most crucial ingredient that makes a strategy, well, a strategy.
Now what's that ingredient? Pain. Yeah, you heard me. Real strategy actually hurts a little. It's supposed to be hard because it forces you to make tough, gut-wrenching choices. It's not about adding more to your plate. It's about subtraction. It's about what you take off the plate.
This all boils down to a concept called true focus. And true focus is really about one thing, the discipline to say no. Now, saying no to bad ideas? That's easy, right? Anyone can do that. The real test is saying no to 100 good ideas, 100 genuinely smart things that just don't deserve your focus at this exact moment.
You know who understood this better than almost anyone? Steve Jobs. He had this incredible quote, "I'm as proud of the products we haven't done as the ones we have done." Now, that might sound like just a clever soundbite, but for Jobs, this was a fundamental rule. It was a principle that he used to, quite literally, change the world. So let's dive into the story behind that quote, because it's fascinating. It all centers on one massive, high-stakes decision Apple made. The decision not to build a PDA, a personal digital assistant, right when they were the hottest new thing.
I mean, you have to put yourself back in that time, the early 2000s. The pressure to build a PDA was insane. Everybody was doing it. Palm, Microsoft, the list goes on. It looked like the most obvious can't-miss next step for a company like Apple. But what did they do? They gave a firm, disciplined, and probably pretty painful no. They decided to protect their focus on what really mattered to them, the iPod and the Mac. And in doing so, they were betting on a totally different future.
So, what on earth was Jobs thinking? It was pure foresight. He had this vision that the future wasn't about fragmentation, carrying a separate phone and a PDA and a music player. He bet big on convergence. He believed one single elegant device would eventually do everything.
And check out how this pays off. Look at this timeline. In 2003, Apple officially says no to the PDA. Get this, they even had a working prototype ready to go and they still shelved it. So for the next few years, from '04 to '06, that single decision acts like a shield, protecting their best people to focus everything on their core products. And then, bam, 2007, the iPhone launches. That no back in 2003 wasn't just a rejection. It was the very thing that made the world-changing yes of the iPhone possible.
Okay, so seeing that amazing example of discipline in action really brings us full circle. It gets us back to that big question. If strategy isn't just a fancy to-do list, what is it really?
Here it is. Real strategy is a boundary. Think of it like drawing a sharp, clear line in the sand. Inside that line is what truly matters. Everything else, it stays out. That line is what protects your mission from all the noise and all the distractions trying to pull you away.
So let's really break this down because the difference is huge. A roadmap, that's a list of things to do. A boundary, that's a filter for what you will not do. A roadmap is designed to say yes to a lot of things, which just creates a longer and longer to-do list. But a boundary is designed to say no to almost everything. And what does that create? Laser focus.
And really, this is the most important thing to remember. Forget the 50-page PowerPoint decks and the long, complicated documents. Strategy isn't a document at all. It's a decision. A single, powerful, and often very difficult decision. It's the decision of what you're willing to sacrifice to achieve something great.
And that brings it all back to you. Because look, saying no to a bad idea, that's simple. The real challenge, the thing that will actually define your success and your strategy is this. What smart thing, what attractive, genuinely good idea will you find the discipline to say no to?